My name is Maud Jablonski.
Works for us.
Yeah, it usually does for anybody else. Not true. I'm Diane Davis, and I am from Casadega, and I have been in spiritualism since 1972. I was ordained and became professionally connected with it in 1978. And I am a charter member, and I'm on that charter back there on the wall. I do not belong to this church in its association anymore. Over the years, there has been other alliance that I have had. However, this place is very special to me. So my playfulness is not in disrespect of it, but my playfulness is also in regards to the fact that more joy and more sense of hope in our life is needed for everybody at this time, in my opinion. And the fortunate thing is, regardless of this thing or not, is you get my opinion this morning, so you're really stuck. I wanted to share with you a quotation that I've had on my bathroom mirror for probably almost 30 years. And it says, "Life is not a problem to be solved, it's a mystery to be discovered. It's a mystery to be unfolded." And so many things in our lives at this time are changing. And how do we function with that? An interesting thing about natural law, because that is probably the area in my life that has meant the most. I share a monthly workshop up in our community. I talk about it a lot, and I use it a lot in my lectures and times with groups. And natural law to me, because we talk about it as far as what brings us joy and what does not, what occurs in our life that is a challenge and what does not create the challenge. So all of you are here today because there is something within you that you are pursuing. Something in you that maybe you pursued years ago, and you found that the philosophy, religion, and science taught in spiritualism was something that you could embrace or take to heart. But also, what happens in our world today is people are constantly wanting to feel safe, wanting to feel that life has the continuity that we're talking about, not just upon death, but upon being here now, and what do we do? So we look around us and we see all types of changes. We see all types of things going on, and we see all types of new studies, new information, new science, new medications, new opportunities, you name it, it's all out there. So what do you listen to, and what do you embrace, and what do you take to heart? That's your business. I don't need yours on top of mine, honest. But what I will mention is this. If life is not a problem to be solved, then why did we grow up thinking that there were a lot of problems? And what happened in those early years for any of us when we learned right, wrong, good, and bad? And if you did not learn that, if you did not learn that polarity of thinking, that you were probably exposed to it by just listening to the adults around you when you were very young. Prior to the pituitary change in life, which is usually between the ages of 5 and 7, prior to that, most of us don't have a reasoning capability. We just have an ability to love life, or to be aware of life, or hopefully to be taken care of in life. I was on MS, whatever it is on the computer. I am so illiterate on the computer. Anyway, but I was on there this morning, and Target in North Carolina, I don't know if anybody saw this, but there is a 1-year-old little boy become fascinated with being a greeter in Target. And he says hi to everybody. He makes sure that they have their sales receipt there at the self-checkout. And so they have given him a little jacket, a little red one with white piping. He's just adorable. Do you really, excuse me, do you really think he's going to remember knowing what he was doing exactly? Probably not, but what he will have knowledge of is the joy and the excitement of the doing. That's called creation. That's called creation. All of us have opportunity to create constantly in our lives. The soul of you wants to create joyfully, impeccably, and quickly. And it will do that in the direction you're looking, not with your physical sight, but with your inner vision. And how it does that is by the steps you take, or the efforts you make, or what we often term the spirit of you and what motivates you. Something happened when I stepped into this room where I started feeling like I was going to sneeze and cough. So bear with me if I sound like an allergy commercial. Life is not a problem to be solved, but so often we look in our lives and we compare the bad and the good, or the different and the unknown. How many of you drive by a new community that has been built in your neighborhood or close by, or within an area where you have to drive every day possibly, and you're seeing all these buildings sprouting up and all these cars on the road that may not have been there previously, and they're all having places to go just like you. And what do you do with all of these construction things that are happening? And they're not necessarily bad or good, they just is what they is. But how do you get to the point within you that you can say it is what it is, and oh my. So here we are, and one of the one principle that we just read together that means the most to me is the first one. Because knowing that there is an infinite, that infinite to me isn't out here. That infinite is everywhere, and that includes in here. Ever since you were the size of that little child in Target, there have been things that you've wanted to do or enjoyed doing, or people that you have said hello to, or times that you just felt like you could just pop because you were so happy and delighted. Was it a chocolate ice cream cone? Was it something that you received maybe later in life when somebody gave you something you were least expecting? I wasn't expecting Annette to become a comedian this morning. But I found a lot of joy in the exchange. And we are soon to announce that we're going to go on the road together. Don't you think? Gotcha. So what happens in your life when you feel that there are things that you want to change, or you want to adapt, or you want to associate with, and you can't? What's the can't? The can't is often not the fact that you are unable to. Sometimes it's the fact that you won't. You won't. And those are the way changes sometimes don't happen. And then we look back upon them later and wonder why we didn't do that. I remember Reverend Mary Rossi, who was a big champion of mine and just an incredible person. Her family owned Rossi's Pizza on Orange Blossom Trail for years here in Orlando. And this is going back quite a time, and some of you may not have been born, but just play along. But I remember her that she purchased some property, And it was right around Disney World. And this was before Disney World took shape. Yes, some of us were around then as well. So what happened was that years later, people saying, you know, I had opportunity to buy land there and I didn't. Wasn't that a mistake? And I go, no, it wasn't yours to do. When are you going to be accountable for your life and accept it for what it is? Because a statement I've made before, I made it yesterday when I was talking in natural law, is that the you that is you is the best you you're going to be, and then maybe in 5 minutes it's going to be another you that is you, that was you, that is now you, the best you. Do you see it? Right, I know you're following along. So what is it that we take within us that has to pivot so much to think that something's right or wrong? If I turn on the news, if I look at something on the TV, and I don't watch TV very much anymore, I don't have good hearing for that, and I find everybody sounds like they're on major caffeine overload. But that's mine, and that's not necessarily yours, and I don't get cable, so maybe there are movies that I really am missing. But what I am saying to you is we all have our own lives, and in our own lives there's this wonderful thing that these are not problems to be solved. You don't have to solve the problem of change happening. You get to begin to discover how to be you in it. Isn't that neat? So, I'm discovering how to be a blue-haired person in Florida. It's a drag, but there are benefits, and they are not just discounts at certain eateries. The benefit is that you are adding to your life always, and that first principle that we believe in infinite intelligence, that infinite is constantly expanding. How can it not? Every thought you have, every breath that you take, where does it go? What happens? And why not add to that infinite? So the wonderful thing is when you're discovering mediumship and the continuity of life and understanding that there is more, that the soul of you goes on forever. It goes on forever. Forever is kind of a long time, you know. And the most awesome part of it is there's nothing that's going to prevent your soul from going on. I don't care. You may have learned other teachings. You may have read a lot of other books. You may have practiced other modalities of interest. But I'm here to tell you the soul of you is a forever thing. And because it's a forever thing, you are going to have opportunity, opportunity, and opportunity until your last breath on this earth to expand your experiences here. And then beyond it, well, I haven't been there yet. But you know what? It doesn't make me afraid either, because I recognize that this is a drop in the bucket. In the 1970s, I was very fortunate. I don't know if any of you knew Bill Guggenheim, but he was very active in Orlando and subsequently in a lot of other things. I met him when he was first getting his footing of doing a lot of the things that he did for a lot of people. So he presented an opportunity. It was held in Winter Park at a private home. We had a private showing of Franco Zeffirelli's movie, Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. And it was a gorgeous film. The photography in it, the colors, the vibrancy, and it was the story of St. Francis of Assisi. You didn't know that, did you? Anyway, we just sang a song. And the beautiful thing is, Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon is a song. And it's one that I've sung for years. because of the fact that we're all equal. None of us are less than each other. It doesn't mean to me that if you're male or female, you're better or not. Natural law doesn't teach superiority. It teaches unity, and it teaches opportunity to discover you and explore life. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? So you get to come here, you have great lunches. Anyway, you get to come here, you get to meet people, and some of those people will exemplify where you want to go. Some of them may not. Doesn't matter. And you know why? Because we're all in this journey together. No better, no less, no more. And it's amazing to me. Yesterday I taught the law of acceptance. And there's one thing about it that I mentioned. We were talking on our way in here. There's two people that came with me this morning. And that if you accept something in your life silently, whether it's in a conversation, whether it's in your home, whether it's in your job, whether it's your neighbors, whether it's this, whether it's that, if you accept it more than twice, and you don't speak up about it if it is something that you really do not want, or you want to change, or you want to make different, if you don't speak up with it, you're making a silent agreement. We have tons of silent agreements in our humanity. Tons of them. And all of us have lots of them in our own lives. They are not good or bad. They just is what they is. But I will tell you one thing. Is if you recognize that you're making an agreement that it's okay, then you're making an agreement that it's okay. Even if it's a silent one. Because if life is not a problem to be solved, where do you go when you have the problems? Where do you go when you're frustrated? Where do you go when you're angry? Where do you go when you feel hopeless? Where do you go when you're sad? And a lot of the time it goes in here, but sometimes it goes out there looking to somebody else to fix it, help it, make it work. That can be beneficial. But the bottom line is, you're going to deal with it, and you're going to want to explore it within you to make it different, or to discover it in a different way. All of us have that ability. All of us are creative. All of us have this awesome forever soul that wants to create, and it wants to create joyfully, and it wants to create quickly. That doesn't mean everything that you do is going to be fast. It just means that, have you ever noticed that when you get bored, and a few of you look at right now, but what I want to say is, have you ever noticed that when you get bored with something, or you get bored in a relationship, I know none of you ever have had that. Oh, it's so quiet. Sometimes when we're looking out here, and we're wanting out here to be different because we want it to validate, we want it to tell us we're okay, we want it to show us. We have forgotten what's in here in the beginning, what's in here in the first place. So we look to somebody else, we look to a lover, we look to a spouse, we look to a child, we look to a parent, we look to a teacher, we look to a counselor. All those things have value. But the bottom line of the value is, how about you, and what do you think of you? And did you give yourself an opportunity and some permission to explore life? Or are you still thinking somebody wrote a different book and there's a different theory or philosophy that you need to study in order for you to be better than you are, because of course you need to be better than you are? Really? You think you need to be better than you are? Well, so why aren't you already? Curious, isn't it? And part of that is because our whole life process is one of creation. And our whole life process is expanding that infinite. And our whole life process is an opportunity of discovering more about ourselves and about our interaction in life itself. We're seeing change out here. We're seeing tons of it. And so many people are stressed. So many people are finding themselves a little heavy-hearted in terms of accepting or being okay. That isn't a flaw, but when we do feel that, and some of us go through times of feeling that, it's important to just take a moment and do often what is referred to as a reality check, just to see where you are in that moment, what you're doing in that moment. And to me, it's about just be. All of you, and I mean this very sincerely, all of you have your own beauty, all of you have your own capability, all of you have your own intelligence, all of you have a vibration and a rhythm, all of you have a movement within you. You breathe in, you breathe out, different rates. None of it is right, wrong, or better. Give yourself a chance, because life is not a problem to be solved. It's a mystery. And one thing about going on the road is more opportunity to create and not know fully what's being created, but to be able to do it with a sense of joy and a sense of awe. And all of you have that, because all of you have been like that little one-year-old little boy. And all of you have felt a sense of wonder at some point in those early years of wanting to be, and wanting to be maybe in a busy environment, or maybe just to be by yourself outside with unknown imaginary friends. But it doesn't matter. What does matter is what you're doing with it. The infinite continues to expand because you're here and you're expanding every moment of your life. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Mom.